Hi guys, my name's Alex Rafferty. I'm from SRAM. Today I want to talk through a couple of our highlight products from this year, model year 18 for SRAM and Rock Shox. The first product I want to talk about quickly is the Rock Shox Pike. So I'm pretty sure a lot of viewers on this are going to be familiar with the Rock Shox Pike. It's a fork that's been synonymous with the Rock Shox brand for a lot of time now. It's a real hard-hitting fork, and it covered that category from trail forks all the way to kind of enduro forks, and a lot of forks out there, actually over a million pikes out there in the marketplace. For this year, for model year 18, the guys at Rock Shox decided to totally redesign the Pike from ground up. We looked at a completely new chassis, a completely new charger damper, and also a new air spring as well. So what I want to do is go through a few of those updates of what we've done to this fork to make this 2018 model. So first of all, the Rock Shox Pike, as you can see here, in two sizes as you'd expect. So we're only making this fork in 27.5 and 29 inch. So in 27.5 up to 160 travel, and in 29 inch up to 140 travel. What that does is it actually gives us the same steerer to axle measurement, so the fork's got the same relative stiffness throughout. In terms of the chassis itself, then a totally redesigned lower leg. So what we wanted to do is maximize tire clearance and also improve stiffness on the fork. So in using a boost-only spacing, so a 110 spacing on the axle, it allowed us to redesign the crown here, accommodate space for 2.8 inch tires in 27.5 and plus tires as well, giving us a stiffer, more able fork in the Pike chassis. A couple of other cool things that I've done. So the brake mount, I'm going to spin this around for you in itself. So this is now the direct mount on this brake. If you bolt your caliper straight onto here, you're actually bolting onto a 180mm rotor. We decided, I think, at Rock Shox, that most people that are riding this style fork, like a trail, enduro, all mountain style fork, 180 rotors is a bit of a standard now, really. So that's progressing in that way. Let me talk to you about a couple of the other things then. So from a couple of years back, you'll probably be familiar with the charger damper. That platform is across our Lyric, across our Boxer, also on our SID. Last year we introduced Charger 2 on the Rock Shox SID, and this year we've introduced Charger 2 onto the new Pike chassis, onto the new Pike fork. So what we're getting out of Charger 2 is a larger range of adjustment, a few cool little things in here. You'll see the difference in the top, in the actual, I'll bring that in for you. So the same feeling, this is the Rct3 Damper, so 3 positions from open, middle position, and then your lockout position there. A few technology changes in there. What we've made is that middle position a little bit more rideable, a little bit more what you'd expect from a pedal position, and that firm position, a much stronger lockout force on there as well. So just an overall improved charger damper, better sensitivity, better lockout force, better pedaling platform. Moving on to the other side of the fork, as you'll be familiar with, we have what we call the air spring side of the force, so damping side of the force, air spring side of the force. On this side we introduced the Debonair Air Spring, which again is a technology you may be familiar with from a couple of our other platforms, from Debonair Shox, and also actually was introduced into Lyric last year. What Debonair does for us with the fork's performance is it increases the negative volume of the fork itself, which allows a much more sensitive off the top feel, so that breakaway into the stroke is much more sensitive, but it also flattens out the spring curve in the center, which gives us a much more linear stroke through the shock, so you don't get this kind of maybe a little bit of a dip in that suspension feeling. So it's a little bit easier to tune, more progressive with your as you adjust your tokens, your volume spacers. So the air spring side works in the same way as, in a similar way in terms of our adjustments as last year's one, last year's air spring. So you can take that top cap up, you can screw in your tokens into there. The grey tokens actually screw into this particular fork to adjust your spring rate on the fork itself. The fork comes as well, another little point on the chassis, you can choose whether you use the Maxwell Ultimate lever lock, which you'll have seen on the axle, or as this is here, the newer Maxwell Stealth, so an Allen key bolt lock on that one itself. Overall aesthetically, you might see that the fork, looking at the shape and the forming of the front of it, you can see it's a little bit beefier, it's a little bit more chunked out, looks a little bit more sturdy. We're super proud that we've been able to increase sensitivity, to increase stiffness and also to be able to make a fork that's more sensitive and a more progressive, more linear, should I say, air spring curve. So thanks for listening. That's the Rock Shox Pike 2018.